I think I have too many digicams. Hello. Today I'm going to be telling you how digicams ruined my life. My entire adult life, I've always had some kind of camera on me. When I was in photography school, I basically only shot film. I wasn't into digital at all. I had the basic Canon Rebel SLR type thing. And if I wanted to take a good picture, I would always shoot film. The pandemic happened and everything has just gotten so much more expensive and it is ridiculous. So somehow, back when I was in high school and in college, I was somehow able to afford film kind of more easily than I am now. So there was definitely a switch in my mindset where I was like, if I want to take meaningful photographs of documenting my life or, expressing myself easily, I don't really know if point and shoot film cameras are for me anymore, just because it is so incredibly expensive. I kind of just stopped shooting film, and I always missed having a nice little point and shoot in my bag, just like a camera that I enjoyed shooting with that I knew would give me good results. It wasn't really the film look that I was after. I just missed having a reliable, solid point and shoot camera. I also always really loved shooting on late 90s, early 2000s point and shoot film cameras. I think I gravitated towards those because the technology is a little bit more new and so less likely to fail. The light seals and all that were usually pretty good. And I still love those cameras so much, but because I was not really shooting film, I started looking for a digital camera that could kind of give me that same feeling of having a really good point and shoot in my pocket without breaking the bank and having to get film developed. I kind of fell into digicams around the time the hype was happening and I wasn't even aware of the hype. I bought my first digicam about 2 years ago, and ever since then I've just been steadily collecting them, and I didn't even mean to start collecting them. I always cycle through a bunch of cameras, so that isn't unusual for me. So I should have known getting into this that I was gonna accumulate a decent sized collection, but I guess I didn't think that far ahead. So basically, digicams have ruined my life. I have a ton of them, and I'm going to show them all to you today. We're gonna go through my collection by brand, which is only 3 different brands, I think. And we're gonna start with the camera that I first got when I first was interested in digicams, and that is the Canon Powershot S50. And I was initially attracted to this camera because it has this clamshell thing, which is very reminiscent of some film point and shoots that I've owned. So yeah, it was just kind of okay, this looks like something that I like and I'm gonna buy it. So I bought this and I knew nothing about digicams at all. It's funny because I actually didn't use this camera that much when I first got it because as you can see here, it's kind of damaged, and I was so scared to take it out. It was the only digicam I had at the time, so if I didn't want to shoot this, I didn't really have anything else to shoot with. So also the battery compartment, there's a little tab in here that is supposed to hold the battery in, and it does not. It broke off, as you can see there. And so I was just terrified to take this thing out. Now I'm not scared because I do have quite a few cameras in my collection. I do love this camera though. It is a little bit worse for wear, but it takes really nice photos. The color rendering is really fantastic. It is 5 megapixels, which is amazing. Yeah, I love this camera. I also just like that it looks like my old point and shoots. So that was the main reason I was attracted to this camera. And then I was looking on eBay after I purchased the S50, and this little guy popped up, the Powershot S45. It was I think it cost me $7, with shipping and everything. I couldn't really pass it up. It was untested, for parts only. Oh wow, look how nice it looks. For parts only. you know, very, I was taking a gamble with this one, but I had batteries for it because it takes the same batteries as the S50. I popped a battery in it and it turned on and it worked. I remember, I think the zoom lever here was stuck. So I took some, I forget what that stuff is called. When I'm editing this, I'll throw the name up there. The electric contact cleaner stuff. I just sprayed some of that in here and wiggled this around and then it was good to go. So I've actually used this camera more than the S50 because it already felt like a junkier camera because it had some problems as well. And I just was less afraid to use it. They're both chunky. They're both little chunksters. My hands are kind of medium size, I don't know. They're definitely heavy, but they both have like this incredibly sharp little lens. I really love the lens on this guy. Probably the strength of this camera, if I had to say like one strength, it's probably the lens, or maybe the colors actually, probably the color science. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the S45 has almost the exact same specs as the Canon G3, but in a smaller body. Yeah, compare these two like size-wise. Yeah, the G3 is freaking huge, but I'm pretty sure they have the same sensor and some of the same specs. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but pretty sure these have the same sensor. So let's get into the G3. This this is what I call a grandpa cam. Like there's like dad cam. I would say like most of the G series is probably like dad cam vibes, but this is just, it's so big and it feels so old and it just looks like a camera my grandpa would have had. So I just can't help but think like, you know, it just feels like a grandpa cam. I love this thing. It's fantastic. This thing is slow as molasses. If you want to have like a slow shooting experience, this guy is the way to go. It is so slow. And that can be like a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you ask. I think it's fine, especially if you're used to shooting film and kind of taking your time anyway. It's definitely not a problem. And it's like, it's literally the size, like this could fit, if you emptied this out, it could fit a 35mm film canister in it. So it definitely, this one really feels like you're shooting film sometimes. Also, like the LCDs on these things are so bad, they're basically just like a viewfinder. It's not even like, you can't even chimp that much. I need to give this thing another spin. The batteries I have for it are really bad. Yeah, the batteries just like die pretty quickly. My favorite thing about this camera is probably this LCD screen right here at the top, because like if you can't really see the screen well enough and it's really bright, you can just like look at all of your shutter, aperture, ISO, all of that on this little window. I love working with raw images from this camera. The raw files it produces, they're just really nice and soft and really malleable, really easy to work with. Let's talk about this guy, I guess. This is the Canon SD1200 IS. I believe it was made in 2007. Like the cameras I just showed you, they were kind of like 2002, 2003 era, I think. This guy was made in 2007, so a little bit newer. So this is kind of like a very standard point and shoot. Unlike the ones I just showed you, it doesn't really have full manual control. It literally just wants you to point and shoot, which I really love. I love the form factor on this. It's really super tiny. Very easy to throw into a bag. If I want to bring another camera with me but I don't have room, this is a perfect option. And I haven't shot with this one that much. The color rendering is really nice as usual. I mean, Canon is very good at that. This one, I think I bought it for $15 at a thrift store. So this was like a really exciting find and I'm really excited to continue shooting with it. I just have to wait for inspiration to strike, pretty much. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. This is the Canon Powershot S5 IS. I wasn't looking for this camera. I bought it because it came in a lot of cameras that I bought. And I actually ended up selling most of those, actually. I just wanted to like buy a lot of cameras to see which ones I liked, I guess. And I ended up testing all of them except for this one and getting rid of them all. Or I sold them, you know. I hold on to this camera because it is like a nostalgia trip for me because I used to have the Canon Powershot S3 IS, and so the whole setup, everything is extremely similar. So I've been holding on to it kind of for a rainy day if I ever want to take a little trip down memory lane and shoot with this. So this is the first camera in my collection that I'm showing you guys that has an EVF up here. It's pretty bad. I remember I got a bad taste in my mouth about electronic viewfinders because the S3 IS electronic viewfinder was so bad. But now I love my EVF on my Fuji X-T10. So I haven't really shot with this one at all, but I should. This is dad cam energy to me, 100% serving dad cam. It's pretty big. I like this hand grip. I like the articulating screen. The buttons and setup is all pretty nice, you know, full manual, all that. So the best thing about these cameras right now is that they're very, very affordable. Like, you can get one of these for like 20 bucks. The output won't be as crisp as maybe the Canon G15. You can't shoot in RAW on this one, but I think for people like learning photography who want a camera like this, but they don't want to spend like, you know, 500 bucks on one, I think this is a great option. The specs on this camera like aren't fantastic. It's very like run-of-the-mill advanced point and shoot, but I think that there's a lot of magic in these cameras. I just need to take it out and shoot it. That's the Canon S5 IS. Now let's talk about the Canon G11. I remember when I was in high school and these came out, I think the G12 maybe was around when I was like a senior in high school, and I wanted one of these so bad. I thought they were so cool. Like, they look like range finders, a little point and shoot for quote professional. You know, I just really, really wanted one. So I got this one for pretty cheap on eBay. I want to say I paid like $35 for it. I think because the lens has like a little bit of like, I don't think it's a scratch. I think the coating on the lens kind of got a little bit messed up, but you can't really notice it while you're shooting. So yeah, I got this for a pretty good deal. I got a super good discount on this camera actually because this spinny wheel thing wasn't working at all. So I messaged the seller and I was like, hey, this isn't working. Because I don't know if they fully tested the camera. They didn't really advertise it like that. So I was like, hey, this wheel isn't working. Can you give me a discount? So then they gave me more of a discount, which was great. And I think that's how it ended up being $30 because these are normally much more expensive than that. So this camera is notorious for this wheel going bad. Now mine works because I again sprayed some electronics contact cleaner into this and, you know, just moved it around and now it works just fine. I'm not good at camera repairs, but that stuff has definitely helped me out a lot. This camera is one of my favorites. Or I love like taking photos of performers, like drag queens and stuff with this camera. I've done a lot of that. This camera is a little bit beat up as well, so if something's like pristine, I don't like to use it and take it out. So I kind of like it when cameras are all like rugged and stuff like this. Great camera. Amazing. I love this camera. I know I'm not like talking about specs a lot because I honestly don't care. For me, it's more about like what makes a camera special to you. This camera is special to me because the form factor is perfect, articulating screen is great, it's easy to whip out and take pictures, it's a bit more modern, so it's a little bit faster than some of my older digicams. The raw files are great. One thing I don't like is that, I've noticed this with a couple of the G series cameras, is that like if I'm taking photos with flash, the white balance for flash is very like yellow and weird. So I'm gonna like play around with that and see if there's something I can do to make that not happen. Because you can set custom white balances for this camera. So, but yeah, Canon G series, always great, love it. I really, really, really want a G1X because it has a little bit of a larger sensor. So I think that might be my next like digicam acquisition. I don't know. That might be the next thing I go after. So let's talk about the G15 now. So this one has this giant tube thing on it right now, so I can put filters on it. This tube and filter came from AliExpress. Yeah, let's turn it on. So yeah, so as you can see, the lens is in there. You can put a filter on this. So this filter is like kind of like a Cinebloom filter, but way super extreme. I'll definitely post some sample images that I've taken with this filter because it's very insane. And I think I'm just gonna start using my normal Cinebloom filter on it. But anyway, I wanted the next step up from the G11 because I loved it so much. And I was like, I wanna see what else the G series has to offer. And this camera was listed as having a lens error and it wasn't working. So I bought it for $15, hoping that I would be able to fix it or, you know, whatever. And yeah, so I was kind of expecting that I would like tinker around with it a little bit, which I kind of did. I kind of just did like the paper trick where you put a piece of paper around the lens, like inside of it, to try and get whatever's stuck in there out. The seller told me that this had been dropped in the sand. And I was like, okay, great. But they told me that after I bought it. So I was like, well, let's just hope for the best. And I could not fix it. And I was pretty sad. But I was looking for like a reasonably priced repair place. And I think it took a couple months, but randomly on eBay, like one just like popped up. And they were in my state, which is crazy. Oh my God. My camera does not want to focus on these black cameras. There you go. Canon logo. Canon logo. Okay, I'm just gonna hold this like this for now because my camera is really struggling. But yeah, so that was like very serendipitous that I really wanted to fix this camera and then magically a repair place on eBay popped up. And I think it was about $140, including shipping and everything. Love that little pop-up flash. And I love it when my camera focuses. Honestly, I didn't really like the input on this camera until I put this filter on. And this filter is too extreme. But I appreciated the colors and everything more after it was softened up. I don't like a clinical looking image. I like something that's a little bit softer and I don't know, it just feels warmer, and I don't like that really crisp, really digital look. I'm gonna experiment with filters on this camera. I really love the form factor. It's a great size. With this tube thingy on it, it's definitely more bulky, but you know, it's fine, it's whatever. I took it to the fair, took it on rides, and it was fine. I really like this camera a lot. The build quality is really great, even better than the G11. I wish it had an articulated screen, but at the same time, I like that it's slimmer, you know. That is the last of my Canon cameras, so let's go ahead and move on to Fujifilm. Okay, so as you can see, I have considerably less Fujifilm cameras than I do Canon. I definitely love both these brands. Like, I always loved Fujifilm film. I would prefer that over Kodak, like, any day. At least when it comes to, like, drugstore film. Fujifilm digital cameras just didn't appeal to me at all. Yeah, I remember back in the day just thinking that Fujifilm was not good at digital, and I don't really know why, because I kind of love them now. My first Fujifilm digicam, the first digicam that got me into shooting digicams, because I got it like maybe a little bit after the S45, and I'd had fun with the S45, but it wasn't like inspiring me to shoot. Call me crazy. But for some reason, this weird underwater, shockproof, whatever camera, specs-wise, this camera is not great at all. But for some reason, it got me shooting. And any camera that gets me shooting, like, like, I don't know, there's just like some magic there. And this camera is one of those. And I don't really know what it was about this camera. And this was a trash cam. So we've talked about grandpa cams, dad cams. Trash cams for me are like cameras that maybe don't work. You buy them in a lot on eBay, praying that something works, and then, you know, this is one of those. It was listed for 20 bucks, and it was listed for parts because they hadn't tested it. That's a trick. So my trick for buying digicams is, or for cheap, is if they have it listed as for parts, I always ask, hey, has it been tested? And if they say, no, it's not been tested, there's a good chance it works. If they've tested it and it doesn't work, so you're out of luck. But I had a Fujifilm battery that was compatible with this camera, and I just went for it. I was not expecting to love it so much. Like, it definitely has like a rugged look to it. I love being outdoors, so a camera that I don't really have to worry about is great. This thing was in my bag for like 6 months. I think. The battery's dying on this camera, so I can't actually show you my favorite part about it, but my favorite thing about this camera is that it has a Fujichrome preset built in. So you can either have standard colors, Fujichrome colors, or black and white. The Fujichrome colors are very well done. It makes everything more vibrant, a little bit more crisp, a little bit more contrasty, and it just gives it this nice look. I just loved it. I love this camera, even though like the menu button is kind of stuck. Functionally, it's not perfect. You know, it has some scuffs and bumps as well. For a long time, if I wanted to throw something in my bag, it was gonna be this, or this was already in my bag and I wanted to shoot with this and something else. But yeah, this is what really got me into digicams, and I think this is a good example of how it doesn't matter what the camera can do, the ergonomics, the blah 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 specs, whatever, it really doesn't matter. I think it's important to never limit yourself and say, oh, I don't want to shoot with something like that, because like you could just really like it. It could be really fun. I've had a lot of fun with this camera, and it's been a while since I shot with it. By the way, this is the Fujifilm XP60. I don't know if I mentioned what the name was because I was just gushing about it so much, but yeah, that's the name of this camera. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy, which is the same family of cameras as the XP60, but this one was actually made a few years before. So this is the Fujifilm XP20, and again, it has that like rugged, kind of ugly, bubbly look. I bought this camera because I really just loved the series, and I wanted to explore the XP series and see what else, you know, they have to offer. Like the XP60, this one also has the chrome, black and white, and sepia built in, and the standard color. So you can get that nice chrome look, but something about this camera, the autofocus is a little bit slow. I love the way this camera looks. I think it looks really nice and clean. Similar appeal that it's dust proof and waterproof and all that, but I just don't get the same magic as I do with the XP60, and it makes me really sad. I think I need to take this out and give it another spin before I decide to sell it or not, because I do really like it, like as an object alone. I like the look of it. It was very well kept, and I got it for cheap as well. It was untested, but it had a case and it looked amazing, and I was like, there's no way this thing doesn't work. So I probably got it for like 15-20 bucks as well. Yeah, just something about this, I just don't like it as much as the XP60, and I really want to, and I don't know if it's an image quality thing or a lens thing or what, but features wise it's very similar to the XP60 and, you know, all that, but I just don't vibe with it yet. I'm gonna give it a little more time, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Next on our little list of Fujifilm pocketable cameras, this is the Fujifilm Finepix Z. I'm not really sure which number. Let me see the bottom. Fujifilm Finepix Z10FD. Okay, so yeah, so this is the Fujifilm whatever I just said, and this is a super trash cam. This is like actual trash camera, because wow, the LCD actually looks good in camera, but as you can see, there's like major damage to the LCD, and the lens has like fogging inside of it. I don't know if you can see that, probably not, and I think it's gotten a little bit better since I've had it, but there's like a big piece of fog on the lens of this. This one I got because I really wanted to try out a Z series camera. I thought it might be fun. I know they're kind of popular, and it was listed as untested, and it looked a little damaged, but I was like, you know, maybe it's okay. Charged the battery, popped it back in, it turned on, but the LCD was like working less than it is now. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you could barely see out of it. You could see like the menus better than you could see the actual picture. So it was very damaged, and I actually stuck it in rice, and after I stuck it in rice I did research, and that can actually damage it, so that was very bad. Don't do that. But since then I think the more I fired it up, the more the LCD kind of like came back to life. I've shot with it once. I got some interesting results. It basically has like a built-in shitty filter because of the fogging on the lens. I'm gonna give it another try because the colors that it produces are very nice. Very different than the XP series. It's kind of on its last legs, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve love, but this is definitely the trashiest cam that I have. 100%. So let's go ahead and talk about the last one in my Fujifilm collection. Honestly, I don't even know what this is. This is, who are you? What's your name? Okay, this is the Finepix 720-700 HD. And this is another one that I have not really shot with very much. This is one of those like bridge type cameras that has electronic viewfinder as well. Just, yeah. It's kind of a weird one. I think it only has like 2 different aperture settings, so you can put it in full manual, but you only have to, let me see. Okay, manual. Also, it's very slow. There's only f3.1 and f6.4. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I think the color output from this is really nice. I've shot with it once, and it was at night, so I didn't really get a full idea of what it can do. But I did take a couple test shots in my house. The colors from those shots are really, really nice. So this might be like a fun, like, toss it around at a party kind of camera, because it has that nice little flash that gives a really good output. It does have the Fuji chrome and black and white. The black and white pictures on this come out really nice. Like high contrast but soft at the same time. But yeah, I haven't really given this one a go. I think the size and the fact that it takes 4 AA batteries always deters me. But yeah, I think it's probably better than I think. These models are insanely cheap. Yeah, these are so cheap right now, and I feel like it won't always be that way. Or maybe it will, who knows. But I think if you want like a digicam to like throw around at a party kind of thing, I think this would give really good results. Or maybe some nightlife. I think the strength for this one might be the flash photography, but I still need to test it out. And yeah, so this is another one that I haven't really shot with, and I haven't really been inspired to shoot with it. Has a nice feel on it, nice grip. A little bit slow, but you know, you get those nice Fuji chrome colors, so I definitely need to give this another try. So last but not least, definitely not least actually, we have my only Sony, which is the Sony Cybershot DSC S85, I think. Is that what your name is? Yes, DSC S85, yes. So this camera is very special to me. I actually have a video planned to cover this camera. So I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'll definitely give it some attention right now. I have a history with this camera. So when I took my first photography class, in high school, I think I was like a sophomore in high school, my teacher was like, hey, if you guys have any cameras that your parents don't use anymore, you know, bring them in and we can see if you can do some projects with them. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure my dad has like a very nice digital camera. And I thought it was like a DSLR. I don't know why. But I asked him, hey dad, where's that camera? And then he pulled this guy out. I used it for quite a few projects in that class. And I think this camera really taught me how to shoot manually. I don't have the original copy of this camera that was my dad's. I actually stopped using it and gave it away to some relatives, but then I saw it. I've always kind of like kept my eye out for this camera, and I saw it on Mercari for like, I think I paid like 17 bucks shipped for this, and it had like batteries and a charger and some memory cards. So I was like, okay, I have to get this. So yeah, this camera is very bare bones. It has all of your manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, auto. I think this camera is from 2001, and it was along the same lines as like the Canon G series at the time. So I think this camera was made to compete with them. Has a very similar set of features. And you know, like the body design is very similar to the Canon G3 that I showed you guys. So this camera, I love shooting with it. It's kind of a slower experience, but it's not too slow. It's kind of a big camera, but it's not too big. You know, you have full manual controls, but the user interface is very easy, I guess. Saying user interface for old cameras feels weird, but yeah, it's just very, very simple. And so I was shooting with this camera about a month ago, and man, I mean, it takes me back for sure. It still holds up, and it did not disappoint me at all. I love this like soft charcoal gray finish and a Carl Zeiss lens. a Carl Zeiss lens for $20. You know, like, I know it's an old camera, but the lens, it performs very, very well. Very, very well. So this is one of my all-time favorites. I hope I have this camera forever. I actually almost bought a second copy of it, but then I was like, no, you're being a hoarder. So yeah, I really love this camera. It might be my favorite right now. I always change favorites, right? This one might be my favorite right now. So I definitely want to do a video about the magic of this camera. I haven't like fully conceptualized it yet, but I've been planning it for a long time. So hopefully we'll get that out soon. But yeah, the colors on this are great. I wish it took better black and white photos, I will say that. Very much a joy to shoot with. It feels great in the hand. Nice little viewfinder. Yeah, very nostalgic for me also, but while it is nostalgic, if it didn't perform well, I don't think I would be singing its praises. Holding cameras under this tripod has really been making my back hurt, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to the outro now. Okay, bye. That is my entire digicam collection. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you would like to see me make any content about a certain camera, let me know, because I do have plans to do that in the future, but if there's a certain one that you would like to see first, let me know. And until next time, bye! It's Moomoo's close-up. You like your close-up? Moo, are you a good girl? You want a snack? Oh, I saw those ears. You want a snack, huh? Oh, yeah. You want a snack? Okay, let's go.